In 1900, New York asylums were transitioning from overcrowded, punitive institutions into state-run hospital networks. In the 1900s, facilities grappled with severe overcrowding by establishing, quote, farm colonies, quote, or moving entirely out of the city, paving the way for the modern psychiatric and child welfare systems we recognize today. So do you guys remember back in 2022 when Gavin Newsom, governor of California, passed this bill, I guess you call it? No, it's an act, Mental Health Services Act. And it's similar to Canada's. Canada calls theirs the Mental Health Act. And he was able to get $6.38 billion for mental health services. And I did a video back then because I thought, wow, this is timely with everything that they're doing to people. And it was, in my opinion, they're preparing for the fallout. And this is all planned and orchestrated. But in Canada, with Nicholas Jordan Wachter, I'm sorry if I said his name wrong, he was detained for involuntary psychiatric hold by Vancouver police and health workers under the Mental Health Act after a psychiatrist assessed him. After everything we saw determined that he was never assessed because he's a whistleblower. And this is another reason it's been put into place for people that go against the government, totalitarian, communistic world that we find ourselves living in. You can't speak out. There is no freedom of speech. So this is what they do with people. I knew this was coming, and so this was really interesting, not for him. I don't know what the status is of him as of today, which is, did I say June 3rd, 2026? I always forget the year in my videos over the years. So they say he assessed him, triggering viral debate online about due process and such holds. But see, this is all covered already under these laws that they passed without us knowing. And the one in California that Gavin Newsom did, let me just read the overview to you. California Governor Gavin Newsom has made behavioral and mental health reform a cornerstone of his administration, focusing heavily on homelessness, conservatorship. That's a huge word when you know that citizen equals slave, and they're administering your trust at any given time when you're interfacing at this level. Any court situation, anybody moving your vessel, which is you, within their system as a citizen. His personal mental health advocacy extends to his own neurodivergence, as he has been vocal about living with dyslexia and ADHD. So let me see here what else I've got. A mentally ill individual is typically detained or apprehended under provincial mental health acts rather than criminally arrested. Police can execute these holds when an authorized health professional, such as a psychiatrist, certifies that the person poses a significant risk to themselves or others. And again, we all saw him. He wasn't posing any risk to anyone. So in California, the Proposition 1 that Gavin passed back in 2022, it says voters passed this historic $6.38 billion, and for you conspiracy theorists, that's 9 upside down 11 billion behavioral health bond. See, bonds, again, people just breeze through these words. This is traded on the NASDAQ. This is insured. This comes out of our trusts. Okay, the initiative redirects billions, there's an interesting word, billions to prioritize California. You think that comes from taxes when nobody has a job anymore? Come on. The initiative redirects billions to prioritize Californians with the deepest needs and funds thousands of new behavioral health housing and treatment beds across state. Now, when I first breezed through that, I was like, oh, this is to help the homeless people. No, this is for more treatment beds across the state, which actually means asylum. This is very similar to what they were doing to people back in the 1900s. In 1900, New York asylums were transitioning from overcrowded, punitive institutions into state-run hospital networks. In the 1900s, facilities grappled with severe overcrowding by establishing, quote, farm colonies, quote, or moving entirely out of the city, paving the way for the modern psychiatric and child welfare systems we recognize today. See, it started back then. And that's when you see like all of these old world buildings that were used as lunatic asylums, psychiatric asylums, lunatic asylums, like Manhattan State Hospital on Ward's Island, for instance. But paving the way for what we have today. You know, the people that will come take your child because they can, because you're just renting it as a pair of people rent. Once you've given it over to the state and made it a citizen. Citizens are slave, and just FYI, George Washington, who oversaw the writing of the Constitution, I guess, who was it, James Madison, was it, that did the penmanship or whatever? There's a lot going on there, because when you write in cursive, this was done on purpose because it curses the words on the page. This is why they don't honor the Constitution at all. And you can just watch any of these videos online that show you how the road pirates are handling the public. And it's outrageous, to say the least. But this is even more outrageous, because now even a nurse practitioner, you know, any number of people can solicit the court, the care court, which is what Newsom set up. It's called Care Court, and it's called a marquee initiative signed in 2022 that allows family members, first responders, and clinicians to petition the court to establish court-ordered, individualized treatment plans for people suffering from untreated schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders. Newsom also signed a law expanding care court eligibility to include individuals with bipolar disorder, stumbling over my words today. This was just increased in January of 2026 with regard to bipolar. So literally, if you have been diagnosed with bipolar and you're out on YouTube or any of the platforms talking against what you're seeing going on in the world today, anyone could deem you mentally challenged or mentally unstable, and you can be taken in, detained. They call it, you know, any number of things, but put into one of these asylums. When they're saying beds, treatment beds across the state, and this is for the entire United States. It's not exclusive to California. So in summary, what has happened of late is they renamed the Mental Health Services Act to Behavioral Health Services Act. And they have broadened it to include treatment for addiction and all kinds of substance use disorders, SUDs, they like acronyms. And it's the government, and they're here to help. What can you say? And also, it employs all these different people. They're usually the worst people to go into these positions. Just try to imagine the DMV helping you overcome some addiction, which incidentally is a stepping block for the chosen elect typically to ascend into where they are and who they are. It's a natural progression. But you don't want to stop there. This is why they created that whole 12-step thing, which is good for a time. But once the government got involved and started court ordering people to 12-step programs, it tarnished it and changed it forever. And this is this overreach, this government overreach that continually wants to control every movement you make. And it all goes back to the fact that they own your vessel from birth with a birth certificate. Your wealth is held at the Vatican. The story about Jesus, the baby in a manger. Watch my video if you haven't seen it. I have a ton of other videos on another platform. But yeah, I'll probably turn that on today, and it's under the same name as this one. Initially, my channel was called End Time Matters, but it had too much Christian connotation, I found, so I had to change it to Why Now, and now it's what it's called, Sovereign Empress Disclosure. So they integrated that, and then, see, what we're moving towards in California, certainly, is they want to have everybody in controlled housing. And at the end of this video, I'll show you what that looks like. And the reason I wanted to go over this is because it was shocking to me when it came out in 2022 with all the other medicine that was going on, and knowing that this is all designed to make people flip out. And then you assign names to these people like Karen and so on and so forth. And what is such a disappointment in America? America is Babylon, in my opinion. It has the worst of the worst. The worst fucking people in the world are in America. And you can take a pulse of that anywhere you want. On social media. My experience doesn't come from social media. That's even worse. I wish that was my only experience with the public. But I have over 40 years with the public in over 8 different states, in 36 different capacities. So I have a really good experience with the American populace and what they're about. And then, to top that off, we go all over the world and force people to use our reserve currency, but we tell you that it's for other reasons, that we have to go to Vietnam and kill women and children. And then men in service, they come back and they're traumatized because they had no idea what they signed up for, but they still enlist. You think some of these vets would explain to younger men what this is really about. These are bankster wars. You're fighting for the biggest criminals in the world, which is government. They're criminals. And because we have so many, I finally had to just go back to the Bible and see, yeah, there's another race of beings here. They need to be controlled. They lick the boot. They need someone to tell them what to do. Just like in the Old Testament, when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt, they begged for a king. Was that in Exodus? Perhaps it wasn't. I may be getting it confused with another story. But nevertheless, they clamored and begged for a king. And God told them, no, you don't need a king. You don't need a man over you. You can deal with me directly, like I do. I deal with the Most High directly. I always have. I always did that even before I read one scripture, which I really didn't do until like 2020. Yeah, I've had encounters with God, and I know it's real, and that He lives in me. I don't need a mediator. But see, you're not controllable unless you have something outside of you you're reaching for, like a rapture or a king. And it's really pathetic that they have to have so many people here that are like that, 80% plus. And the only thing that floats their boat is a click and a dollar. And they're just morons. That's what I'm over. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the idiots here. But I'm going to continue to put information out if I'm motivated to do so. This is really troubling. And what you saw with the guy in Canada is exactly what's going on here in America. And they've allotted $10 billion in California alone. And it always is the same thing. We're with the government. We're here to help. No, they're here to put you in an institution so they can tap into your trust, to your wealth. A lot of people, they go so far, but then they don't understand. Like, they understand the fiat currency. Fiat just means, and so it is. So it's like whatever you believe. You believe this paper promissory note has value, then it does. But that's eventually going to not work anymore. But the thing about it is, it does have value because it's connected to our blood. This is what people don't understand. You are worth millions. And that's why they steal our sovereignty at birth. And they trick our parents or parent. And you sign them over. And by the way, it's mandatory since 1933. You have to have a birth certificate. And from what I understand now, in addition to pumping them full of all kinds of rabies shots and so forth, that they also give them a social security number at the hospital. All of the money that makes this place move is from our trusts. It has nothing to do with taxes. How are they going to fund universal basic income when all the jobs are gone and you get anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month to sit at home and play video games? How is that going to be funded if nobody's working? I just saw a meme with one of the bootlicking Trump shills that said that Trump is going to do away with the IRS. Wow, that's interesting since it's already voluntary to pay federal tax.
Joe had awakened to a world in crisis. The economy was in a state of deep neglect. A great dust bowl had ravaged food supplies, and the #1 movie in the country was called Ass. And that's all it was for 90 minutes. It won 8 Oscars that year.